All right, well, it's Wednesday, and you know what that means. Plant and garden expert Craig Hignight is joining us live in the studio to answer all of your burning questions. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning. And you know it's spring? Because I've got plants sitting in my living room right now.
There you go.
Right. Hey.
All right, so this question actually caught my eye first. I'm interested in this one. It says, it's from Timothy, and he says, hello, Craig. What's the thing about planting potatoes on Good Friday, which I have always heard?
Well, the potatoes are a fairly long season crop, and they like cooler temperatures than a lot of our crops. So getting them in the ground gives them time to develop. And remember, as they grow, you're supposed to mound them up. By the end of the season, when you're ready to harvest, there should be a nice little mound of soil around the base of the plant. Remember, those tubers are actually stem tissue. That's why they have the eyes that will grow. They're stem, they're not root. So plant them early, mound them up as they grow, keep them watered, and hope for a bountiful harvest.
So is that like a wives' tale about planting them on Good Friday?
I really don't know. Maybe that's when the potatoes became available.
Maybe.
You know, I know they come in very early and they run out very quickly.
Interesting. Bill says hello. Hello, Bill. Thanks for joining us this morning. Joe and Moline, do garden chemicals like fungicides and dormant oil go bad if they freeze?
Yes. If you've got liquid chemicals and they have been in an outer shed, or your garage got too cold and they froze, those should be disposed of, and you need to replace them with fresh chemicals.
Okay, we've got a question from Jim. I left rose bushes in large pots outdoors all winter. They're not looking very well. Will they rebound?
Well, we can only keep our fingers crossed. There are very few plants that will survive in a pot outside over the winter. It's not the fact that they freeze. All plants freeze in this area during the winter, even in the ground. It's the freeze-thaw that takes them out, our erratic winter. So all you can do is keep your fingers crossed. Next year, put them up against the north side of the house and bury the pots in mulch. Freeze them down. Don't let them thaw out again until spring.
Judy's asking, what type of soil do I need to grow mums in a raised bed?
I would just use regular garden soil. Now, I'm assuming that this bed is connected to the ground so that the roots will go clear down into the ground. And basic garden soil, you'll amend it with peat moss and compost, and of course, keep them fertilized properly and watered properly through the season.
All right, Lori's asking, my lilac bush has a new start about 2 foot tall. Can I transplant start, and how do I transplant start?
Okay, first we have to do a little exploratory digging. You've got to make sure that that sprout actually has roots on it. So you're going to dig down very gently, and if you don't find roots, just leave it alone. You might go ahead and cut it down to about 1 foot after the plant gets done blooming so that it has a chance to bush out. Eventually that will go ahead and make roots, and you will be able to transplant it someday.
All right, well, you can keep submitting your questions on our live stream right now on the WQAD Facebook page. We'll answer them right after this break. All right, welcome back. We're answering more of your questions on our Facebook page right now. So we're going to start with a question from Tim. Should I be fertilizing my rhubarb now?
I would go ahead and give it a nice dose of organic fertilizer and make sure that you've got some mulch around it to conserve moisture. We're still not getting the rain that we need, and you don't need competition from weeds and grass. So yes, go ahead and fertilize your rhubarb now and hope for a good harvest.
From Kathy, why does my twisted hibiscus have new growth and leaves that are totally different than the original? Will it bloom this year?
Just give it time. The plants, there are things called point chimeras where a plant will sport on a certain part of the stem to a different color or something like that. But by and large, it's all going to come back. And up and down that braided trunk, if you get stems and leaves that come out there, they should be brushed off. That stem should remain bare.
All right, and from Christy, are Epsom salts good for my asparagus? And then how do I apply?
Well, Epsom salts, it is a source of magnesium for plants, and I would not use more than about a teaspoon or maybe 2 teaspoons per gallon, but we aren't fertilizing the asparagus until after we get done with harvest. And if you use a good, fertilizer, it's going to have the micronutrients. Look for that magnesium on the package when you go out and get ready to fertilize your asparagus after harvest.
From Rick, do you introduce your garden seedlings for the first time to root stimulator while they're still in the greenhouse, or do you wait until they're outside?
I usually wait until they go in the ground. The thing is that, it's really hard to go ahead and have enough root stimulator to cover all the plants that are there. But once they go in the ground, yes, use the root stimulator, follow the directions on the label.
All right, from Nick, he says, morning guys. Good morning, Nick.
Morning, Nick.
I just put mulch and edgers around my garage and was wondering if hostas would be good there with half sun and half shade. Is now a good time?
Well, let's say if it's morning sun, yes. Afternoon sun, you're going to have to be very careful in the hostas that you choose. Not all hostas are fine with that afternoon sun, but they, choose the right plants and they should do just fine.
From Tom, can I plant an arborvitae in a large pot outdoors and have it survive and stay smallish?
Well, you're going to do a lot of pruning on that thing. These plants, people always want, I want a nice small plant. Well, they stay small because we prune on them constantly. And it was like the roses that we were talking about earlier. Getting it through the winter, that's going to be the hard part. Again, you put it up against the north side of the building, bury the pot in mulch, or even better yet, dig a hole big enough to accommodate the pot, sink the whole thing into the ground, then mulch it, and hopefully next spring you're going to be able to lift it out and it's going to do just fine.
All right, well, as always, Craig, thank you so much for joining us. And be sure to join our Facebook Live with Craig each and every Wednesday. There you can submit your questions and be part of the conversation. And here's a look at